Alright, you and I are diving into a world where humanity was nearly wiped out by a giant meteorite. From that rock came the Zerg, monstrous insects that spread across the globe like a nightmare plague. These lethal creatures immediately began a brutal war for survival against the human race. Firepower alone could not stop the swarm, and mankind lost almost everything. But then, a genius invented spirit contracts, a technique that changed the tide of war forever. This allows women to transform into powerful battle spirits, while men become their masters. With this incredible new power, humanity finally managed to protect the small slice of land they had left. 100 years later, in the present day, a massive crowd gathers around a glowing pink crystal. The high-stakes test begins with a young woman reaching out to touch the stone. The evaluator sighs, announcing the young girl received a low-tier sea sword, a pretty weak rank overall. She walks away completely crushed by the poor results, having failed to reach a high-level rank. Meanwhile, our main character Hanjan just arrived at the ceremony, having no idea how much talent he actually has. The examiner calls the next student, Xiaomei. The confident redhead steps onto the stage with a smirk. She touches the crystal, and it begins to pulse with intense light. The glow is so blinding that everyone has to look away. Look at this. Out of the light comes a massive spear. The evaluator is in shock that Xiaomei pulled the Immortal Blood Spear, an S-rank weapon. The entire crowd is floored by her status. They whisper that if she finds an equally powerful master, the two of them would be unstoppable. But instead of celebrating, she heads straight for her boyfriend, our main character Han January. Xiaomei coldly tells him they are breaking up since they are on different levels now, leaving him stunned and silent. She tells him to stay out of her life from now on. Behind them, a group of guys starts laughing at him, making the situation even more awkward for poor Han January. Back then, he did everything for that girl, from giving her massages to making sure she was always fed. In a flashback, we see Xiaomei heartlessly throwing away the lunch he made her. She belittles Hanjan even as he begs her to stay. Now, in the present, bullies mock him for losing his powerful girlfriend, claiming a loser like him never deserved her respect in the first place. Hanjan, however, he fires back that there is still a chance he could awaken an S-rank talent. The redhead just laughs in his face, saying he will never reach her level. Then, it is finally Hanjan's turn for the test, and he slowly approaches the artifact while everyone watches. When he places his hand on the crystal, absolutely nothing happens at first. I know what you're thinking, but wait, just as the mocking starts, a massive explosion of light shatters the silence on stage. Hanjan has awakened a triple S technique called Divine Resurrection, leaving the entire academy in total disbelief. Suddenly, every woman there changes their tune, and they practically throw themselves at the main character. One blue-haired girl even tells him she is a cosplayer and that they would have a lot of fun together at her apartment. But he just turns away, thinking that all these women are superficial and would only slow down his training. The young man opens his status window. It shows his talent is literally divine, with a list of insane abilities he will be using throughout his journey. In that moment, his ex-girlfriend Xiaomei has the nerve to show up and ask if he wants to form a duo with her after all. He uses his new power to scan her, while she actually has the audacity to say he is finally allowed to hold her hand. Hanyan is amazed by his new abilities, which let him see every hidden detail about Xiaomei and her contract. Our hero gives her a flat no, as he walks off to find a better partner with his triple S rank site. Later on, two girls are seen bullying another young woman who is beautiful but only an E rank. They mock her spirit contract mercilessly. They tell her she will not survive long at the academy with such a trash level. We meet this young woman, Xiaoyi, who is standing alone and crying over the cruel comments about her being useless. She wonders why everyone treats her so badly just because her rank happened to be low. Lost in her thoughts, Xiaoyi runs off and accidentally bumps right into the protagonist. As she is about to fall, our hero catches her firmly and asks if she is okay. Once he is sure she is fine, Hanjan checks Xiaoyi's status and sees something truly mind-blowing. He realizes that despite being an E rank, this girl actually holds one of the 10 strongest weapons in existence. He stays calm and gently touches her hair while she is left speechless. You and I are about to see if she accepts his offer to become partners. Alright, stick with me, because you are about to see one of the most awkward rejections in Manhwa history. Director Chen Pu tries to jump in, telling the kid he cannot just be this reckless with his life. He argues that choosing a lifelong partner based on a momentary feeling is a recipe for disaster. But before young Xiaoyi can back out to save him the trouble, a loud voice suddenly booms across the hall. A massive brute stomps in, screaming the name Xiao and putting the whole conversation on ice. This is none other than the grandfather of the redhead, Xiaomei, the girl who just dumped our hero. The old man is furious, demanding to know why the kid used his triple S talent to scare his precious granddaughter. Grabbing Hanjan by the shirt, he sneers that thinking he is better than Xiaomei is pure arrogance. The brute tries to slap the boy, declaring this is his end. But Director Chen Pu steps in to tell Vice Captain Xiao to control his nervous impulses. The brute isn't budging, declaring he won't leave until a contract is signed with his granddaughter instead. But Hanjan cuts them both off, declaring he's sticking with Xiaomei no matter what anyone says. He grabs Xiaomei to go finalize the contract, even though she's terrified she's just holding him back. Without missing a beat, our hero looks her in the eye and says she is absolutely worth it. Now, watch closely, because you and I are about to see a legendary transformation unfold. As she screams, a purple sphere erupts around her, and Xiaomei transforms into a stunning golden sword as the system confirms the contract is a success. The weapon floats in the air while Hanjan stares at the blade, completely mesmerized by its power. The system confirms a triple S-level bond, leaving every single person in the room absolutely speechless. Shortly after, Xiaomei returns to her human form and collapses into his arms, sobbing with pure relief and joy. Meanwhile, we see the redhead and her grandfather slink away from the crowd in total defeat. Xiaomei is still whining about the humiliation, but the old man tells her to just let it go. The old man says he's rigged a cruel trap for tomorrow's test to get rid of Hanjan forever. But then he turns the tables, asking the girl exactly how she plans to pay him back. The girl hugs him, thrilled, and invites him over for video games as a way of saying thanks. With a dead serious look on his face, Xiao agrees, promising they'll have a good night together. Hours later, the media is blowing up with reports about the student awakenings and Hanjan's shocking case. We see the hero scrolling through his phone while he teases the red-headed girl next to him. Hanyan asks her what he's actually good at, and she replies that he's basically perfect at everything. The scene fades with Xiaomei passed out on the bed, totally exhausted from the long, stressful day. You and I know they make a great pair, but the people in the cafeteria are busy talking trash about how the duo is totally unbalanced. Xiaomei starts apologizing, feeling like she's just an embarrassing burden for the hero. But the young man just comforts her, telling her to stop saying sorry and just focus on breakfast before they're late for the big evaluation. Suddenly, a voice calls out to Hanjan, making him spin around to see who's bothering them. It's a guy named Wang Lu Mao, who's just there to show off and question the hero's strength. But our hero honestly couldn't care less about the weak attempt at a provocation. He just asks who the guy is, and Wang Lu Mao introduces himself as Xiaomei's arrogant new partner. Hanjan cracks a pun on the guy's name, which absolutely sends the rival into a blind rage. The redhead Xiaomei grabs her new partner's arm and tells him to ignore the failure before he gets kicked out. As the two walk away with their heads held high, Wang Lu Mao warns that this isn't over before the scene cuts to a massive combat arena. The announcer shouts that the exam is starting, explaining that candidates only need to pass one single stage. The crowd is thin, but the evaluator calls up the first pair, Xiaomei and her partner, Wang Lu Mao. The redhead and her new partner step forward, ready to win. They stand before the gate with total confidence, but then a terrifying massive claw reaches out from inside. Trust me, you and I are about to see if they can survive this rank 7 grotesque insect monster. Alright, you and I are watching the battle begin. She transforms into a spear, and Wang Lu Mao faces the beast head-on. The beast strikes with pure violence, but the kid narrowly dodges and immediately prepares his counterattack. Wang Lu Mao strikes with force, but even his spear blade can't seem to penetrate that thick monster carapace. Refusing to back down, the young man leaps high, declaring he is going for round 2. With zero hesitation, he dives in and finally pierces the beast, sending a painful roar through the arena. The dust settles, leaving a massive, gaping hole right in the center of the creature's chest. Everyone is losing it over that S-rank skill, impressed they could break through such a hard structure. On the screens, we see the threat is finally down, but away from the cheers, the organizers are watching and analyzing. Weiqing, head of the first district, emphasizes that the pair fought poorly against a low-tier monster, calling the result disappointing. But then, Master Li delivers a quick blow to his head for talking trash and ignoring orders. The second district leader, Lin Jingxuan, breaks it down further, explaining exactly why that fight should have ended with a single strike. He blames their messy spirit contract, saying a disorderly lifestyle is clearly holding them back in combat. Down in the arena, the announcer screams that they've passed, setting a brand new record for the academy. Still, the crowd is roasting Hanjan for turning down the S-rank redhead. Talk about a bad move. Stat-wise, she would be way more powerful than Xiaomei. But now, the evaluator calls the next pair up. Next up, our hero and his partner. Now, pay attention here, because as they stand at the gate, our hero senses something very wrong. The second they step out, 10 massive level 1 monsters spawn in to attack them at once. Our hero is shocked. The crowd starts mocking him, calling him arrogant for picking such a weak partner. The announcer tries to play it off, saying the difficulty scales with the ranking of the students. But honestly, we both know that's a lie. The redhead's grandfather actually bribed the announcer. He wants to see Hanyan fail miserably before everyone. The announcer thinks to himself that the kid shouldn't have offended the wrong person yesterday. The monsters don't care about the drama, though. They're charging in with bloodthirsty, furious rage. Then, out of nowhere, the girl transforms into a radiant golden sword, vibrating with intense energy. With one master-level swing, Hanjian wipes out all 10 monsters. Just like that, they're gone. You saw that coming, right? But the crowd is watching in pure disbelief. They can't believe an E-rank girl has this much power. Even the organizers are leaning in now. Total disbelief in the observation room. The first district leader is sweating just watching this. He points out that they cleared the floor in just 1 second. Even he took 30 seconds back in his day. Lin Jingshuan says the rules don't apply here. A brute in the room claims the difficulty spike was intentional to find real talent. Honestly, even he doesn't believe what they just did. He's completely lost in his own thoughts. He wonders how they're doing this, thinking maybe 20 monsters might finally be enough to finish them. Wei Qing agrees, saying more pressure is fine since he handled similar odds during his training days. The oldest man in the room nods along. He wants to see exactly where their limits reach. To really push them, the organizers release 20 monsters into the arena all at once. Hanjian just chills, moving his hands while joking about a song and finding a soulmate. A massive vortex rips open behind Hanjian, and that golden sword floats with deadly intent. A blue shockwave erupts from their spot, blasting all the way to the ceiling and vaporizing every monster. Hanjian just asks if that's all they've got. To him, this was just light training. The spectators are fuming now. They think he's the most arrogant person they've ever seen. Wei Qing is stunned. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see what's next. All right, you and I are diving back in, as he decides this duo needs to join his team immediately. But Yaku, the leader of District 3, steps in, saying it would be boring to send such rookies straight to the front lines. Suddenly, the organizers start bickering among themselves to see who gets to claim the duo, as they are all desperate for powerful reinforcements. Soon after, Shinzeki, the District 4 leader, steps forward. He argues that none of those battlefields are right for them, and suggests sending the duo to explore ruins in his own territory instead. Comically, the other leaders turn to the redhead Shinzeki and tell him to just shut up. However, the old man running the room puts an end to the petty bickering. He claims their performance so far isn't enough to judge, and decides to test them at the most brutal difficulty level possible. In the back of the room, Xiaomei's grandfather is actually thrilled with this choice, curious to see how Hanjian handles the pressure. Down in the arena, a massive gate looms with a mysterious figure standing guard. Now watch closely, as the evaluator announces that the difficulty is being cranked up to the absolute limit. We are talking level 3 difficulty, 10 second-level lizards and 10 thunderbirds all spawning onto the battlefield at once. The audience immediately panics at the terrifying sight. Since these beasts have incredible teamwork between their offense and defense, this level would be a total nightmare for anyone. But our main man Hanjian? He just smiles and says he finally has a challenge worth his time. Watching from the stands, Wang Lua thinks the kid is being way too arrogant, but the creatures quickly close the distance and charge right at the protagonist. The thunderbirds let out a bone-chilling roar together, but our hero does not even flinch. Hanjian draws his golden sword and summons a squad of spiritual soldiers to fight by his side as they charge. They shout that they will wipe the monsters out, landing some very successful hits on the lizards. But things take a turn when the thunderbirds fire off lethal electric bolts, completely vaporizing the spiritual warriors. Just as the lightning is about to blast him, the protagonist lunges straight into the heart of the swarm, glowing with a powerful orange aura. You feel that too, right? That absolute rush as he leaps into the monsters with zero fear. He lands with style, holding his sword Xiaomei, but now he is completely surrounded by both lizards and thunderbirds. That is when Hanjian screams, triggering his rupture formation and blasting every single creature back with pure force. A second later, the monsters are literally raining from the sky, totally defeated by his insane strength. Watching with wide eyes, Wang Lumao wonders just how much more power this guy is hiding. Up in the observation deck, the district leaders are staring in total disbelief at what they just saw. The fact that the duo wiped out the entire wave in just 2 moves is mind-blowing. The old master watches from the corner, thinking to himself that Xiaomei is incredible because her abilities are being massively boosted by fighting alongside the hero. He immediately calls for his butler, who appears by his side with blinding speed to show his loyalty. The servant asks what his master requires of him, and the master explains he wants the butler to use his special ability to gauge Hanjian's true power level. But the butler admits he already tried and could not read a single thing from the boy during the trial. He adds that this might be another mysterious case, just like the young Ling Zhen. Shocked by this, the master asks if the evaluation crystal just glitched because of Xiaomi's massive power. The butler says it is possible, but Master Shut still feels like something is very off here. The old man decides Ling Zhen needs to meet Hanjian as soon as possible. But one big question is still bothering him, so he asks his servant for the name of the duo's spiritual talent. With a serious look, the butler reveals that their unique talent is called Shenong's tripod. Back in the arena, the evaluator is stunned, asking Hanjian if he is really sure about moving to the next round. Without hesitating for a second, The young man says yes. Suddenly, a level 4 horde bursts through the portal, roaring with pure fury. A massive centipede lunges at our hero, but Hanjan dodges the killing blow with ease. Musical power flows through Xiaomei, trust me, you and I won't want to miss what comes next. With a sharp strike, our hero wipes out every creature in his path without showing a single shred of mercy. Stick with me, you and I are about to see if Hanjan can survive as infinite monsters keep pouring from that portal. He unleashes a massive hurricane, using his raw power to sweep everything in its way into total oblivion. Victory is secured. The young man tears through the horde, advancing straight toward the challenges waiting at level 9. After the carnage, monster corpses lie scattered all around Han January. They were completely crushed by his overwhelming strength. The evaluator notes he hit level 9 and suggests he should stop the test right now. But impressively, our hero shocks everyone by announcing he wants to attempt difficulty 10. This bold move leaves the bespectacled evaluator completely stunned by what he just heard. Now pay attention, the audience thinks he is absolutely insane for challenging a level never before seen in the academy right after awakening. The scene shifts to the leader of the first district, a man named Wei Qing. He mentions that even he only reached the 9th level when he was at his peak. A transmission plays, recalling when leader Wei Qing achieved that feat. If our hero wins round 10, he will shatter every historical record in the academy. This starts a heated rivalry between the first and second district leaders, both desperate to recruit such an exceptional talent to their teams. Lin Jingguan lowers his glasses, clearly ready to fight for the talented boy. Suddenly, Lin Jingguan begins radiating a powerful, glowing purple aura. He shouts that nothing is stopping them from settling this little dispute with a full-blown brawl right here. Back in the arena, the white-haired evaluator says he won't stop the protagonist from moving forward, but he warns that Hanjan is too exhausted to win. Our hero just asks for a single moment to recover his strength. The evaluator understands but warns that, according to the official rules, this break cannot exceed 5 minutes in total. Interrupting him, the boy claims he only needs the length of a single song to rest up. Hanjan begins a rapid recovery process, leaving every single person in the stands completely shocked by his speed. You and I can see it clearly now. Even though Hanjan and his sword Xiaomei have different power levels, their collaboration is truly incredible. Back in the office, the argument between the district leaders gets even more intense over who gets the student duo. In the corner, someone coughs loudly, trying to get some attention amidst all the chaotic shouting. It turns out to be Lu Jingchun, leader of the 5th district. He asks if they really plan to use him for war when he is so good at healing and absorbing energy. Wei Qing and Lin Jingguan stare at him, asking if he is also planning to join the recruitment war. Lu says yes, because the boy's skills would drastically lower the death toll on the battlefield. But the two masters immediately shut him down, agreeing that there is no way they are letting that happen. Just as a fight is about to break out, Professor Li steps in to set things straight for everyone. The master explains that all 8 districts already have very specific roles and contributions they must uphold. The first district focuses on combat, while the second handles the strategy. The third expands territory, the fourth gathers intel, and then the 5th district is entirely responsible for the healing and medical care. 6 handles surveillance, 7 covers the oceans, and the final district is in charge of all the covert operations. Together, these 8 districts form the pillar of Daxia, keeping order and peace throughout the entire world. Professor Li admits he has thought about creating a 9th district, but he never actually went through with it. The scene cuts to a massive creature roaring through thick smoke in the far distance. That creature is Zerg, a level 3 monster known to everyone as the terrifying flaming beast. Professor Li says that if the boy can survive 3 minutes against that monster, round 10 will be a success. Suddenly, the flaming beast lets out a massive, bone-chilling roar. The shockwave from the roar blasts across the arena, sending bystanders flying back through the air. The crowd starts to wonder why this young man is standing his ground against such a deadly, high-level monster. Just then, a sweet moment plays between our hero and Xiaomei. He asks his sword if it is ready. Without any fear, Hanjan charges directly at the massive monster. And trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. You and I are about to watch this Zerg beast snap into action, unhinging its massive jaws to spit a lethal fireball at our hero. Hanjan barely dodges the lethal blast, twisting his body mid-air at the very last second. A colossal explosion rocks the arena right behind him, showing just how much destructive power that fire blast had. Seizing his opening, Hanjan channels every drop of mana into his blade, priming himself for a devastating counter. No time to waste. He leaps into the air, hovering as he roars to gather every ounce of energy around him. His aura is so intense, the resulting gale actually blows the wig right off some poor bald guy in the stands. Even the girls in the crowd are struggling, holding on for dear life as the pressure threatens to send them flying. With his power peaked, Hanjan lets loose a focused wind strike aimed directly at the heart of that monster. A massive tornado starts swirling in front of him, gaining speed and fury with every passing second. The Zerg beast finally feels the pressure, realizing too late that its defenses are about to be shredded by the wind. Now pay attention, because the Zerg is blasted into the sky, spinning around like a helpless and pathetic ragdoll in the storm. As it tumbles through the air, the beast lets out one final roar of pure despair before meeting its end. Within seconds, the wind completely obliterates the massive creature, leaving nothing behind but tiny fragments of debris scattered in the breeze. Up in the stands, the crowd just stares, completely stunned by the ridiculous power this kid displayed to clear such an impossible challenge. Even with jealousy burning in their eyes, the redhead Xiaomei and her partner Wang Lumao are visibly stunned by the protagonist's display of power. Han Yan knows that pushing his body to this extreme level will eventually come with a heavy price in the future. Suddenly, the virtual world starts to glitch and warp, signaling that the battle simulation has officially come to an end. Right then, a mysterious stranger appears, telling Han Yan he is impressed that he cleared the trial and earned his way forward. When our hero asks exactly who this stranger is, the man introduces himself as Lin Jingguan, an extremely influential figure in the region. Explaining that he is in charge of a local district, he cuts right to the chase and asks our hero a very direct and uncomfortable question. He asks who will win the war, and Han Yan replies that while the Zerg might win, humanity will never lose. The kid vows to fight with everything he has to ensure a future where people can finally live in peace. Hearing that bold answer, someone nearby starts clapping with a ton of energy, clearly liking what they just heard. It is an old man who approaches and asks if the young man wants to be his disciple. You and I are officially watching a legend in the making. Right away, Han Yan realizes he is standing in front of the legendary Luong, the head of Daxia's most powerful clan. Flashback 100 years to when 3 Zerg emperors joined forces in a brutal attempt to destroy everything and wipe Daxia off the map. But when things looked the absolute darkest during that war, Luong stood alone against all 3 monsters, slaying them and saving his nation from total destruction. Back in the present, Han Yan double-checks if the legend is serious about the offer, and Master Li confirms it. Han Yan gives a deep, respectful bow, incredibly honored to be trained by a man who is literally a living legend. Out of all the potential students there, this kid was the only one who matched the master's insanely high standards. Since this is their first meeting as teacher and student, Master Li presents him with a special ring as a gift. It is actually a storage item forged from the very bones of a Zerg emperor the old man killed years ago. But there is a catch. The master warns that the ring carries a deadly and highly destructive aura. He warns the boy to be careful. While the ring intimidates weak Zergs, it will actually make high-level monsters much more aggressive and likely to attack the user on sight. The master says that if the risk is too high, Han Yan doesn't have to take it. But our hero doesn't hesitate for a second, accepting the risk and choosing to keep the powerful ring. The master is clearly pleased his new student isn't a coward, even throwing a shady look at the nervous evaluator. Right after that, Master Li congratulates Han Yan and Xiaomei for their absolutely incredible performance during the exam, then cordially invites them out for a victory dinner. They head straight to a restaurant to celebrate their massive win in the arena and his new status as a disciple. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see who Master Li invited to this little elite get-together. Then, let's dive in. You and I are about to meet the district leaders, as Lin Jingguan introduces everyone as brothers-in-arms from the battle zones. We meet Yiku from District 3, Shen Jeki from the 4th, and finally, Liu Jingchun leading District 5. Our main character humbly thanks them for coming, but the slick-haired, red-headed leader says thanks aren't needed because they're all family now. Sadly, the leaders of District 6 and 7 couldn't make it to dinner. The 6th leader is tied up guarding the border, and the 7th is currently out of the country. They are just about to talk about the 8th District's master when something totally unexpected happens right in front of them. Suddenly, the 8th leader just appears out of thin air inside the restaurant. He claims he is only slightly late, but warns he has 0 time to stick around. Watch this, he hands over a contact number for life or death situations, but warns Han Yan he only gets 1 chance to call. Trust me, pay attention. As fast as he arrived, the man vanishes in a blur, leaving the entire group stunned by his raw speed. Han Yan is left completely floored by the 8th leader's mysterious and unique vibe. Lin Jingguan then hands over a treasure box filled with rare materials, new clothes, and secret techniques gifted by the brothers to help the duo out. Our main character is thrilled and gives his sincere thanks for such a massive, generous gift. The party vibes die instantly when a loud, rude woman storms in, screaming about them eating a feast without her. Xiao is frozen in shock and pure embarrassment when she realizes this is her own aunt causing a scene. This woman rudely claims that Xiao belongs at home and accuses her of trying to run away and have fun just because she finally awakened her powers. However, without letting the girl say a word, the aunt lunges forward to slap Xiao's face right in the middle of everyone. But before she can hit her, Han Yan moves like lightning and grabs the old woman's arm, stopping the slap cold. The aunt yanks her arm back with everything she has. She screams at the boy to let go and tells him to stop poking his nose in her business. She screams that Han Yan is only trying to manipulate the girl and demands a massive payment for all the money she spent raising her over the years. Xiao is absolutely fuming at the audacity of this woman making such a disgusting scene in public. Suddenly, the girl snaps and yells that she has had enough, and she will not listen to one more word of this nonsense. But the aunt just doubles down, screaming that the girl is rude and ill-mannered, which is ironic since she's the one who raised her like this. Still shouting, she yells that her uncle from the 4th district will be ashamed of her, essentially threatening everyone at the table. The leaders trade confused looks, wondering who this legendary uncle from the 4th district is supposed to be. You and I both know this is about to backfire. She keeps yelling, asking who this brat thinks he is to touch her. She even points a finger right at Master Li. She mockingly asks if he's the grandpa footing the bill, then warns him that if he wants the couple, he will have to pay up with gold, a house, and a car. She threatens to call all her powerful relatives from the 3rd, 4th, and 5th districts to come and settle the score right now. Having zero patience left for this madness, the old master tells the leaders to step in and make this crazy woman stop talking. In pure desperation, the leaders start making urgent phone calls to find out how security even let this woman inside their district. The aunt yells one last threat, claiming she isn't scared because her powerful friends will destroy them all. Right then, her phone rings loudly, cutting her mid-rant in the middle of the crowded restaurant. When she answers, she gets hit with a massive verbal beatdown from the person on the other end. They inform her that as of this very second, their families are officially no longer related. With a cold smirk, Master Li asks her where all those powerful contacts of hers are hiding now. On the other end, Uncle Nu warns her to stay away from the couple, because Hanjan and Xiao are protected by the great leaders themselves. The shock is so heavy that the phone slips from her hand as she collapses to the floor. She just sits there, completely unable to believe the words she just heard. And that's where we leave her, trust me. You and I just saw a masterclass in instant karma as security drags her out. Alright, stick with me because Master Li is about to show this loud-mouthed aunt that his patience has officially run out. He unleashes a crushing pressure attack on the woman, who screams in terror as she is finally dragged out. With the chaos over, Xiaohui apologizes to the crowd, looking completely devastated by her aunt's shameful behavior. But Master Li Shuang comforts her, telling the orphan girl that from now on, they are her new family. Between Han Zhan, his comrades, and her new grandfather Li, they invite both of our heroes to live with them. The young woman accepts the offer, her eyes filling with tears of pure joy and gratitude. Feeling truly welcomed for the first time in a while, the atmosphere finally lightens as they drop all formalities and settle down to eat now that the chaos is over. The master then begins a lesson on how to eat this high-class dish, comparing the flavors to different hunter types. Curious, our main character asks what kind of food he would be in this strange analogy. Slow, roasted, or blanched? The old man just says he doesn't know, since everyone walks their own unique path. This leaves the boy in deep thought, until the old man suddenly realizes his own plate is completely empty. We see that young Xiaohui snatched the food for her master, Han Zhan, making him realize their bond will be absolutely legendary if they keep this up. Later, Lin Jingguang explains that when a duo relaxes and connects their spirits together, the partner can actually grant incredibly rare and unique abilities to high-ranking spirit masters. Pay attention here, because one secret ability allows a partner to take two forms, a human and a powerful weapon. To prove it, he mentions that the leaders' wives are currently at the border, bravely fighting off monsters in their stead. However, Lin Jingguang adds a spicy detail, explaining that for a couple to fight separately like that, they first need a much more intimate connection to solidify the bond of their spiritual contract. When asked why he chose an E-rank partner, Han Zhan reveals his special ability can transform their contract into a legendary SSS rank with infinite potential. The regional leaders are shocked by the news, barely able to process what they just heard. They wonder if such a legendary ability even exists, as they have never encountered anything like it before. Our hero continues, explaining he only chose her to unleash a hidden divinity that most people could never imagine. His old master then gives a stern warning. He must never, ever, tell another soul about this secret power. Shifting gears, the leaders report that Daxia territory has expanded by 20% against the Zerg threat. Hearing the good news, the old master gets fired up and calls for a massive toast with the group. They end the dinner with a bang, celebrating a future that finally looks bright for all of them. Once the celebration wraps up, old Li walks the couple back to their brand new residence to rest. Han Zhan jokes with his master, asking if he's a bit tipsy after drinking so much at the restaurant. The old man just laughs it off, proving he's still sharp and completely sober despite the heavy drinking. I know what you're thinking, and yeah, Han Zhan is just as shocked to find a literal mansion waiting for them. With a look of nostalgia, the master reveals this house sits exactly where his wife lived her whole life. Impressed, the boy admits he never knew the master was married and asks if his wife is home. But a deep sadness washes over the master as he explains that his beloved wife passed away years ago. This happened during the legendary battle against the Zergs, where only Li Shuang is remembered as the victor, while her sacrifice is completely forgotten. Our hero feels the weight of his master's pain, realizing he accidentally reopened a very old, very deep wound. The old man then. He advises Han Zhan to cherish his companion while she's still alive by his side, because Xiao Hui is truly the other half of his very soul. The boy then respectfully asks for the master's wife's name, saying that if someone still remembers her, she will never be forgotten from history. With an emotional smile, the old man reveals that the love of his life was named Ling Mei. He recalls the legendary battle where he managed to take down one of the massive insects, but while fighting the other two, she gave her life to save everything they held dear. He emphasizes that she should receive all the honor for saving Daxia from extinction, before turning around and telling the kids it's time for bed. Hours later, the elder sits alone in the backyard, staring up at the stars and lost in his memories. He's thinking of his wife when the young couple suddenly appears, startling him by wanting to keep him company. They tell him they'll stay by his side since his wife isn't here, and trust me, that's where we leave them. Alright, you and I are watching the master remember his younger days with his wife. The master says it is time for Han Yan to train in the martial art called Ba Ji Quan to grow stronger. Suddenly, with a thunderous roar, Master Lu Tong snaps a tree in half to show off his raw power. He explains the 8 body locks, hidden points that, once unlocked, allow a person to reach their absolute maximum potential. Almost instantly, our hero begins mimicking those fluid movements, as if he had already mastered the technique long ago. That same incredible energy starts surging through his entire body. It completely shocks his teacher, who never expected the boy to grasp such a high-level skill so quickly. Now here is the part where you and I see if the kid can survive a real fight. With lightning-fast speed, Master Lu Tong lands a heavy punch to the chest, sending Han Zhan flying back several meters. Now our hero is on the ground, screaming in pain, while the old man tells him not to be arrogant. Still, the master is clearly satisfied to finally teach his new apprentice a lesson. Meanwhile, Han Zhan, realizing the danger, begs his master to be a bit less violent in the future. The next day, back at the academy, Xiaomei asks if the boy's face still hurts, and Han Zhen replies it has been a long time since he felt that way. But on their way, they run into a group of arrogant idiots blocking the path in the corridor. It is Wang Lu Mao, that annoying red-haired girl Xiaomei's personal lapdog. He starts laughing at our hero's recent success, mocking him for having such a low-ranked and weak partner by his side. Innocent Xiaomei is totally confused by the insults, but Han Zhan tells him the guy is just an idiot desperately craving attention. The two ignore the bully completely and head straight into the director's office. The director tells them they are being sent to the front lines of the conflict to protect the city. He hands over the official orders and tells them to report for duty at the organization immediately. Our hero, Han Zhan, feels a bit uneasy, so the director explains the mission is tough. He tried to change the orders himself, but he did not succeed. Han Zhan remains determined, stating this is the only way to get stronger. Later, outside the office, the bully starts trash-talking again, claiming it doesn't matter how strong Han Zhan is because rules and superior people always win. Right then, standing face to face, the group of jerks continues to laugh and mock the duo relentlessly. Han Zhan stays cold and silent, having already decided he is going to crush this annoying worm very soon. Then, the bully starts lying. You and I both know this guy is lying through his teeth, but he still challenges our hero. Without a second thought, the two clash in a violent explosion of power without caring about consequences. They charge forward and their fists collide. The shockwave ripples through the hallway, but the bully's arm snaps instantly against Han Zhan's overwhelming, absurd strength. Screaming and crying like a little kid, the bully is now wide open. Seizing the moment, Han Zhan moves in for one more. He lands a final, brutal punch to the face to end this fight once and for all. The bully, Yi Fan, falls unconscious on the floor after that well-deserved beating as the duo walks away. Suddenly, the director rushes out, screaming for a nurse. After the fight, our hero goes to the counter to handle the paperwork. He tells the receptionist in a firm voice that he wants to join the special district troop immediately, which leaves the man stunned. The clerk says he was already notified about the 2 talented students heading to that deadly battle, so he starts typing their data. He registers Team 0527. Led by Han Zhan, this team is going to change everything. Stick with me for the next part. Alright, you and I are about to watch one of the messiest first meetings in Manhwa history. Han Zhan and Xiaomei open a door only to find a room buried in a mountain of trash. The sheer amount of filth is absolutely nauseating. Inside the wreckage, a redhead woman and some lazy bum are just lounging on the bed. Looks like they spent the last few hours getting totally hammered. The redhead asks who they are, and our main character, Han Zhan, introduces himself as the captain of Team 0527, totally catching her off guard. That bearded guy on the bed finally starts paying attention to what's going on, but he just rolls over, complaining that having such a young captain is a complete joke. Then he tells them to get lost, acting like he doesn't know who he's messing with. He leaps up and shamelessly hits on Xiaomei, asking her to be his partner, a total insult to Han January. Now watch this. Han Jan lunges forward and delivers a devastating punch to the guy's stomach to punish him for disrespecting his partner. The blow sends fluid flying from the guy's mouth and nose. The power behind that punch is terrifying, sending the idiot flying across the room until his back shatters against the wall and he drops. The redhead calls the guy Yifan and tells him to show some respect while she goes to sleep. Instead of listening, he just begs Hong Yingwei for some cash. In response, the young redhead just slams the door right in his face. Standing back up, Yifan complains that the team is broke and can't even afford booze. As he hops on the computer, he tells Han Jan he doubts he'll change a thing. He pulls up the team rankings, and it turns out they are dead last on the entire list. The lazy guy slumps back down, explaining that because of staff cuts, their rank means they'll be kicked to the lower district, a lawless wasteland, where survival is a difficult, total nightmare. Since all the alcohol is gone, Yifan realizes they need to act to avoid being demoted forever. Suddenly, the girl snaps that they won't get anywhere carrying Yifan's dead weight, since he's basically given up. But Han Jan is determined to prove he can handle any challenge that comes his way. Heading for the door, he confidently vows to turn this mess into an elite team. Next, our hero heads to the kitchen to chat with the mysterious redhead who greeted them. The duo sits down, and Han Jan uses his special ability to reveal her true name, shocking her. When she asks who he really is, he calmly explains that was just a tiny taste of his power. Honestly, Han Jan tells her she is vital to the team's success and makes a direct proposal. He offers her half of all mission earnings, making it clear he wants a partner, not a rival. She stares at him, weighing his words for a moment, before finally agreeing. She's not doing this to be nice, she just sees the massive profit. Han Jan then asks her to find missions so he can pick their first target. She quickly finds 3 jobs in the system that match their group, but the tasks are pathetic, and ranking up with them would take a long time. You and I both know he is picking the mission with the most points possible. Without hesitation, he selects the mission to exterminate a pack of Zergs. This is the single most dangerous task available, but it also offers the highest reward for the team. Hong Yingwei thinks he's insane because the mission recommends at least 6 veteran combatants. Even so, Han Jan just smiles, telling her he will handle the whole thing solo. He acts like it is just a simple warm-up while the scene cuts to some angry background characters. They just realize someone snatched the mission before they could grab it. Now these extras are out for blood, demanding an explanation from whoever took their job. Stick with me, things are about to get wild, as the life detector picks up 8 level 2 insects closing in. Stick with me here, you're about to see just how insanely confident our protagonist is in his own power. Suddenly, the unexpected happens. While everyone else is frozen, Han Yan suddenly charges forward. He moves like a man who knows exactly where every single insect is hiding. The redhead starts panicking and sprints after him, absolutely terrified that he is rushing straight into his own death. She doesn't hesitate, diving into the fray to assist our main character in his brutal showdown against the swarming Zergs. But when she finally catches up, pure shock. The monsters aren't attacking, they're already dead, their bodies scattered all over the place. She's completely stunned, left wondering what kind of monster level Han Jan is actually hiding from them. He casually mentions the mission was a total breeze, and starts harvesting all the rare monster parts to sell for some serious cash later on. After that, he leaves the girl there to recover a fallen guardian's body while he heads back to the base alone. An hour later, a rival team arrives looking to snag the credit. But they're hit with a massive shock when they see someone already finished the job. They count 10 level 2 insects lying dead. It's way more than the mission description even mentioned. Even crazier? Every single monster was taken down with just one perfect fatal blow. They realize whoever did this is a monster who's probably already out there hunting for their next kill. Now, check this out. Grandpa Xiao is at the agency, and he is absolutely losing his mind over our trio's sudden and unexpected success. The old man is fuming, his face turning red with rage over Han Jan's victory. In a blind fury, Xiao orders his men to snatch up every single mission on the board. He's trying to starve our hero out by blocking all his work. Later, we see Han Jan and his master, Li Shuang, grabbing a meal. The master asks if his student needs help squashing that annoying old man Xiao, but Han Jan says no. He's totally focused on the city guardians and doesn't want any outside distractions right now. The master warns him that as these national teams grow, they rot from the inside, becoming harder to manage, like decaying tree branches. That's exactly why he chose to train the kid in the first place. He knows Han Jan can handle this garbage alone. Changing the subject, our hero asks for some tips on mastering the old man's secret technique. He's feeling frustrated, admitting he's hit a wall and can't push his training any further on his own. But Master Li just tells him to remember one thing, the thin line between life and death. It's a lesson he'll learn the hard way soon enough. Later that night, Han Jan is just chilling on the sofa. I know what you're thinking, right? Xiaomei shows up all awkward, saying she has to sleep in his room tonight. Apparently, the old professor went and locked every other door in the house on purpose. Being a gentleman, Hanjan offers to take the floor so he won't make things uncomfortable for her. But she insists there's no need for that, since the bed is plenty big enough for both of them to share. The night ends with the two finally lying down to rest together. The next morning, the pair heads to the team office to clear the air with the other two members. When those guys realize who Hanjan really is and his insane academy scores, their jaws literally hit the floor. Feeling like total idiots, they apologize for acting like jerks and looking down on him when they met. Hong Yingwei points out that a powerhouse like him is basically wasting his talent by staying in a failing squad like theirs. But Hanjan isn't going anywhere. He makes it clear that he's determined to turn this team's luck around, no matter what. Then Yin drops a reality check. Every move they make is going to be a struggle. Since Hanjan pissed off that brute Xiao, the old guy is doing everything in his power to ruin them. The redhead nervously mentions that every single mission in the entire district has already been snatched up by other teams. She's terrified, asking what they'll do now that they're basically blacklisted and out of work in the whole city. Hanjan doesn't even blink. He just grabs his device and starts looking for jobs in the neighboring cities instead. The girl says that might work, but warns him that the roads between cities are a total death trap. Those roads are crawling with high-level monsters, and most teams never make it out alive. Cut to Hanjan and his crew in a jeep, driving down a totally empty highway. They are currently hauling tail, trying to escape a pack of giant insects that just swarmed them out of nowhere. Xiaomei asks what these things are. Let's find out together. Our main character explains these are level 1 Zerg's pack hunters that are incredibly dangerous. Ye Fan, the former drunkard, suddenly bolts upright in the back seat, screaming in absolute terror at the nightmare ahead. Alright, you and I are about to see something terrifying as monsters start flying through the air. A massive black hurricane of insects is completely blocking the jeep's path. Right ahead, another vehicle is desperately trying to escape the deadly swarm. Seeing them struggle, Hong Yingwei asks if they should jump in to help. Without a second thought, our heroes decide to help, flooring the jeep and pulling a sharp, bone-rattling turn on the road. The sudden turn sends Yefan's head slamming hard against the car's interior. Even with blood dripping from his scalp, he shouts that he has never felt more alive. It turns out the car being hunted holds Shan Xiang, a high-ranking VIP, and her personal bodyguard. At this critical moment, the bodyguard warns they will be swallowed in 5 minutes, and reinforcements are too far out to help. Watch closely, he desperately orders his men to sacrifice themselves to protect the woman at all costs. It is a suicide mission, but they have to buy her time to escape. Hearing this, Shan Xiang frantically grabs her communicator to stop the madness, but her men are already determined to charge directly into the massive monster horde. The escort cars skid as the men start their final countdown to attack. 2 men fire missiles directly into the massive cloud of swarming insects. The blast fails, and the men are violently sucked into the tornado. Her entire defense battalion is being wiped out. Trapped inside, the woman sobs while listening to her men's final screams. A massive boom outside suddenly catches Shan Xiang's attention amidst the chaos. Golden light tears the sky, making even the insects flinch in terror. Han Yan is firing massive energy beams right into the living hurricane. He blasts a massive rift into the center of the storm. You saw that, right? Shan Xiang and her bodyguard are completely stunned by his ability to disperse the swarm. But the monster hurricane reacts to the attack immediately. Black spikes fly toward Hanjan, but Ye Fan jumps in to serve as a human shield. Yi Fan's body is violently pierced. He collapses with several black spikes stuck in his chest. Hanjan frantically tries to pull them out, knowing the poison will kill him if they stay. Surprisingly, the spikes pop out as his wounds magically begin to close. He realizes Ye Fan has a double S-Rank Immortality talent. This leaves our hero wondering how he recovers so fast that his body simply cannot be destroyed. Smug, Ye Fan says he will explain if the protagonist begs. Our hero just shrugs off the annoying provocation. As they keep moving, Xiaomei announces they have reached the first mission site, shocking Ye Fan. An even bigger horde of grotesque insects begins charging toward them. Hanjan tells Xiaomei he needs her weapon form to wipe out the swarm. As the monsters close in, the hero unleashes a strike that shreds them all. Yi Fan is speechless, while Hong Yingwei is amazed by Hanjan's power. At another time, notifications flood the screens showing every mission is successfully complete. Top officials gather to discuss the progress of their operations. You and I just saw them finish these tasks at a crazy speed. Trust me, you and I are about to watch this rival squad lose it as they hunt down the team responsible. They figured they would clear the demonic serpent horde while they were there. But a stout man suddenly spotted something ahead. Too slow, Hanjan's team had already wiped out every last monster before they even arrived. The squad leader barked at his driver to turn around immediately, demanding answers for this impossible speed. A scarred young man tried to stop his reckless leader from starting a fight he could not win, just as another vehicle was seen tearing out of the city. It was Han Yan himself, joined by the immortal Yin and that mysterious girl in blue, Xiaomei. The action shifts over to the central headquarters of the city's elite guardians. Sitting in a massive office was Su Mingguan, the third most powerful man in the entire city. He stared at the system data in total shock, wondering how these brutal missions were being finished so fast. An employee broke the news that the protagonist's team had entered the zone and cleared every creature alone. His assistant rushed in with the physical files, and Su Mingguan ordered his secretary to clear the room instantly. Intrigued by the reports, the commander began digging through the system's classified files to uncover what was really going on. He meticulously scrutinized the history of every single member in this mysterious group that had appeared out of nowhere. Completely alarmed, "Now watch this," the commander found every member was ranked as top secret, which made no sense at all. But hidden among those confidential documents, one file in particular caught the High Commander's eye. He saw that Han Zhan's personal record was totally blank, making him think there was a massive error in the system. Before he could investigate any further, the phone on his desk began to ring. It was none other than Lin Jingswan, the powerful 2nd District leader, speaking with a voice that sounded deathly serious. He ordered Su Mingguan to drop the investigation immediately because those files were way beyond his security clearance. The commander obeyed his orders, but he could not believe it, wondering who this Han Zhan really was and where this power came from. Back on the battlefield, a massive centipede is seen lunging directly toward our protagonist. The beast was already covered in deep wounds, letting out a horrific grunt of agony and pain, but Han Zhan finished it for good, marking their 18th completed mission of the day. He immediately asked where they stood in the rankings. The redhead, Hong Ying, checked the team's position in the database, while Yin celebrated their absolutely legendary performance. "You saw that too, right?" Despite racking up 1,800 points, the team is still stuck in last place, leaving everyone in total shock. Hong Ying immediately suspected the system was being rigged against them. They quickly realized that over a dozen rival squads had teamed up to finish all the other missions together. That is why those other teams have scores that are sky high compared to our heroes. The group knew this was just another one of Xiao's dirty schemes. Even so, the young Han Zhan stayed perfectly calm, confidently stating that they still had a real chance to flip the script and win. Now, the group decided to set their sights on Deep Blue City. Soon after, Han Zhan and his partner Xiao hurried over to see Old Master Li Shuang. As soon as they arrived, the old man asked how their missions were going. Han Yan told him they had earned points, but the final rankings were looking pretty bad for the team right now. During their talk, they brought up the woman the group had rescued from that terrifying insect hurricane on the road. The master explained that the girl came from a family with massive wealth and influence across the whole region. He also mentioned that he viewed her like his own granddaughter, a child he had raised and would never truly abandon. The old man revealed that this girl, Shang Xing, had actually been sent to that dangerous area on purpose. It was a trap to force her to quit her journey, but luckily, their rescue saved her from a terrible fate. Suddenly, the old master's tone shifted as he told the two youngsters he had a very special gift for them. He pulled out a sleek briefcase and opened it to reveal 2 glowing vials, legendary enhancement potions that radiated pure power. The old man explained that this briefcase was part of Shang Xing's original convoy, but now, the girl wanted to personally give this reward to our hero, as thanks for saving her life. These vials hold rare liquids that boost strength, speed, and durability, and trust me, you and I are about to see him become unstoppable. Alright, you and I are about to see this duo take their powers to an absolute and legendary new level. It was like a sleeping giant inside them had finally opened its eyes. Our hero watched as Xiaomei unlocked a divine new form based entirely on the 4 natural elements. But that wasn't all. Han Zhan gained insane musical abilities for his weapon while smashing through his system-level cap. Right after that power surge, the protagonist's phone started blowing up. Their red-haired ally called them with some urgent news, explaining she had found a mission in the region with massive points. Moving fast now, while the duo rushed to find the team, the boss and his butler waited alone in the tea room. The servant reported that they had located Miss Ling Zhen, but she refused to see the old man since she was in Shanghai. Once they regrouped, the redhead questioned our hero, asking if he was truly ready to take on this mission and hunt the monster. She was desperate, explaining that this specific explorer was beyond dangerous. But he cut her off, asking if she even understood what a red alert meant. Now pay attention, because if they fail to stop this monster, he warns the entire city will be devastated. Yin toasted the captain with a big grin, while the redhead walked away annoyed, just as the scene cut back to those arrogant extras who had always hated our hero. From a skyscraper, they watched violent lightning strikes tear through the entire district. They huddled up to discuss the details of this new mission. One of them grumbled, wondering why their superiors had not given them the job exclusively. After spotting our heroes, the men laughed and called them perfect bait for the creature in the storm, just as the team finally prepared to enter the danger zone. As they entered the zone, our hero warned the group to stay sharp from here on out. The redhead gave one last warning once they advanced. There was no going back for any of them. They stepped into a massive warehouse, feeling like they were being watched and that something absolutely terrible was about to happen at any second. Paralyzed with fear, the young girl grabbed onto his arm in pure terror, terrified of the strange noises and the sensation that their very energy was being drained from their bodies. The redhead confirmed it, realizing that their power was indeed being sucked dry by the room. She warned that the longer they stayed there, the weaker they would all become. Efon noted they had only 30 minutes to win, or they would all end up as food for the monster. The redhead pointed ahead, spotting the massive black sphere from the report floating right in the middle of the dark room. He wondered if one good hit on that sphere would end the threat for good and save the city. Okay, I know what you think, but watch as the ground beneath them starts to distort. Quicksand erupted from the floor, swallowing both the redhead and the immortal Yin. Massive stone walls rose up as the monster used its secondary ability to give life to the ground and turn the very earth itself into a powerful and living weapon. With no other choice left, Xiaomei became a spiritual sword while Hanjan launched a barrage of attacks at the walls. The strikes exploded on impact, but the cracks in the stone healed almost instantly. Our hero was stunned by that insane regeneration, especially when more walls appeared out of nowhere and he realized that he was being completely cornered by the beast. Without warning, a Zerg creature lunged at the protagonist from the darkness behind him. He dodged just in time, watching the wall swallow the beast before the duo started running. Back with the extras, their leader told everyone to keep their guard up. But a cocky redhead in their group claimed they were far too strong to lose. Suddenly, the earth shook and those same terrifying walls trapped them all inside. The redhead warned them to stay sharp as a silhouette emerged from the mist, while the captain started acting very strange. When he tried to help, the captain grabbed him by the throat with killer intent. He realized insects had taken over the leader's mind, and then he was next. And trust me, you and I are going to want to see how Hong Yingwei and her ally survive this. Alright, you and I are diving into a world where being immortal is actually a nightmare. For this man, living forever isn't a gift from the gods, it's an eternal, soul-crushing curse. He casually points out that nothing matters, since they're both trapped in this hellhole anyway. Suddenly, the woman gathers her energy and blasts a massive spell right at the stone wall. The structure starts cracking apart like it's rotting from the inside before finally shattering into dust. As the debris clears, a mysterious silhouette slowly begins to emerge from the swirling smoke. The redhead thinks it's Captain Hanjan, but she screams for the hero to be careful as he dodges and lands on a pillar. The team finally regroups, but they don't notice the massive stone hand rising up right behind them. This giant limb slams down, trying to squash the teammates before they even have a chance to move. At the absolute last second, our main character intercepts the blow and shatters it with one precise strike. He tells everyone to move back immediately because he knows this fight is just getting started. Now watch closely, because this living mountain of a monster is about to rise up and change everything for our heroes. A massive hurricane swirls around them as the beast charges, throwing the redhead and the drunkard aside. The impact of that punch is so insane it sends a massive shockwave through the entire area. Our hero realizes the only way to win is to smash the black orb powering this thing. The duo offers cover while the monster lunges forward, aiming another devastating strike at the group. The immortal hero leaps in front, throwing up a shield to tank the full force of the blow. He warns them he only has 6 uses left, so they better end this fast. This gives our protagonist the opening he needs to summon a massive lightning bolt from the sky. The sheer energy of the strike slams directly into the monster's head. The orb shatters, but the immortal looks back and sees our hero is dangerously wounded after the clash. Our hero has sustained a deep, brutal gash to his abdomen from the intensity of the fight. Despite the pain, he tells his friends to flee just as a grotesque insect monster appears. The creature looks down on them, arrogantly promising to end their lives right then and there. But appearing from right behind the beast, the redhead steps out, shockingly trying to convince the monster to team up using its illusions. Through the thick smoke, our protagonist can't believe what he's hearing from his own teammate. She starts sobbing as she loses control of her body, her expression suddenly twisting into something dark while she declares she wants them all dead. Looking at her more carefully, you and I can see it now that strange glow in her eyes means something is very wrong here. It's a special type of Zerg, a parasitic nightmare that turns people into literal mind-controlled puppets. Long ago, one of these things possessed a legendary warrior and wiped out an entire city. It took the combined strength of the whole organization to finally bring that warrior down. This species was supposed to be extinct for 32 years, yet here it is again. The hero tells the immortal to buy him time while the enemy orb grows 10 times larger. Hanjan needs to move at lightning speed now to avoid being caught by the coming attack. He just needs Yane to hold out for a single song while his body starts regenerating. The possessed girl screams at the monster to finish them off before he can recover. The insect fires a massive blue laser, but the immortal jumps in to block it. He manages to hold back that overwhelming tide of energy with his bare hands. The beast uses the redhead to break his focus, trying to crawl inside his mind as well. But Yin isn't having it. He delivers a sharp headbutt to snap her out of it. A small, nasty parasite gets launched out of her head, just like it did with their leader. The tiny creature emerges and tries to lunge for one last attack, but the immortal crushes the creature, leaving us wondering how he will survive now with only 2 lives left. Alright, you and I are about to watch this monster's blue beam hit a brick wall. While the drunk Yifan questions how much longer this will take, Hanjan sends his sword flying to back up the immortal fighter. Xiaomei shifts back to human form as our main character finally takes command of the situation. He orders them to clear the small fry while he handles the leader, blasting a massive golden laser straight at the hideous beast. But the monster is fast, dodging the strike before pulling a jagged blade right out of its own mouth. The beast lunges, but the protagonist blocks the hit using nothing but his bare hand. That crushing power is just brushed aside, leaving the creature stunned by the young man's sheer physical force. We finally see the master's secret gift, a special glove designed to soak up a massive part of the impact. Now pay attention, because these two launch into a violent clash so fast your eyes can barely keep up with them. They both land heavy strikes on each other's shoulders, forcing a momentary break in their savage, direct confrontation. Hanjan knows he has to end this fight before the monster gets any stronger. If he doesn't, the beast will drain his energy dry. He can feel the edge of death approaching and knows he must strike now. His gloves glow with raw energy as he triggers his blockbreaker skill. He charges ahead with blinding speed, getting right in its face to bury a direct punch into the monster's chest. The impact is brutal, literally causing the creature's body to disintegrate. Its remains scatter across the dirt, but the severed head laughs, claiming the hero is the one who truly lost. Our main character freezes in shock as the monster's body begins to stitch itself back together at terrifying speed. Pure despair washes over the team as they realize this horror isn't over. The drunkard reveals the redhead has vanished, just as heavy chains suddenly begin to coil around the group from the shadows. The beast raises its arms, lifting a massive boulder as a crushing pressure slams down on every single one of them. Incredibly, the drunkard catches that mountain-sized rock with his bare hands. He screams for his captain to move fast, even as cracks start spiderwebbing across his own immortal body. Hanjan sees Yane is at his limit, but then, a massive spectral hand appears in the sky. The creature is crushed instantly, leaving the group wondering who or what just saved them from certain death. You and I are finally seeing the true power of the main character's master. The old man steps from his carriage, radiating the kind of pressure that proves he is on a completely different level. But before the young man can even say thanks, his body finally gives out from the strain of the battle. He collapses into unconsciousness, caught by his friends just before he hits the ground. Eventually, he wakes up in a hospital bed with Xiaomei sitting right beside him. Our hero looks around in a daze, clearly having no idea how he ended up there. She explains that his master wiped out the horde after he fainted, though a few of the monsters managed to escape. When he asks about Yin, she tells him their friend is in bad shape despite his immortality and is recovering slowly. The slow healing process makes the mood in the room heavy. Suddenly, a nurse rushes in looking for Yifan, because it turns out the patient has completely vanished from his bed. Hearing this, Xiaomei realizes the monsters took the red-haired girl and the immortal must have gone after them all alone. She also breaks the news about their mission failure, with all loot confiscated and a massive loss of 100 points. The protagonist asks what his master thinks about this mess, hoping the old man has some kind of plan. The girl says the master is staying out of it so the hero can handle this himself. Understanding exactly what his master wants from him, Hanjan vows right then and there to take back every single thing that belongs to him. The scene shifts to some low-level thugs bragging about the loot Xiaomei was generous enough to let them keep. Their party is cut short when our duo kicks the door in, demanding to know where their leader is hiding. One of the thugs tries to act tough, getting way too bold in front of the young warrior. He delivers a slap so hard the thug hits the floor. And trust me, you and I are gonna love what happens next. Let's watch our hero absolutely humiliate this entire criminal syndicate. He calls out the rest of the gang, asking if anyone else wants a piece of him. Terrified by Hanjan's power, the lackeys start recording everything to send to Xiao, waiting for their boss to react. Meanwhile, the fallen thug gets up in a rage and lunges with a knife, but the protagonist grabs his arm and starts a brutal beatdown. Suddenly, Xiao himself walks into the room, demanding to know the real reason for this sudden invasion. Our hero stands firm, telling him he wants his items back immediately and demands a formal apology for the trouble. The brute orders his men to send the fight footage to the authorities, threatening the young man with severe punishment. However, his henchmen report that the authorities refuse to help, claiming they won't interfere in the local guardian's internal business. The old man loses it at the news, crushing the communicator in his bare hands during a total fit of rage. The brute quickly shifts his tone, asking what it will take to end this conflict once and for all without more trouble. His answer was direct. He wants total permission to enter the city vault and take everything he can carry. The man hesitates at such a bold demand but eventually agrees. Under one condition, the kid can only take what fits in his hands. What he does not realize is that the young man is already wearing a magic ring given by his master. Now watch this. He enters the vault with a rare storage artifact, ready to execute his grand plan and clear the entire place out. While this happens, Xiao laughs to his men, thinking it is impossible for anyone to take anything valuable using just their bare palms. Inside, the protagonist uses a special guide from a friend that lists every single hidden treasure stored in the vault. He passes skeletal remains, massive insect wings, and various medicinal plants scattered all across the dusty shelves. But then, something big catches his eye. The massive, sturdy shell of a powerful sixth-order crab sitting right there. The protagonist decides to sweep all these precious items into the dimensional storage ring his master gifted him. A bit later, we see the hero calmly walking out, while his partner rushes up to ask what he managed to grab. He keeps his haul a mystery for now, telling her he will explain everything only once they are completely alone. Xiao is left totally confused as the young man walks away seemingly empty-handed, leaving the building without a single bag. But after calling his manager, the villain gets the desperate news that the protagonist has cleared out half of every single thing in the vault. A lackey reports that the authorities were informed of the theft, but they just said it was their own problem to solve. That night, our hero is resting peacefully when Xiaomei walks out of the bath, creating a very heavy atmosphere. She then invites the protagonist to sleep in the same room as her. I know what you are thinking, but just as things get close, a girl in pajamas suddenly appears in the room, completely killing the vibe. She says softly that she was just too afraid of losing him in battle. The two jump. Both of them are super nervous because they had no idea another person was hiding inside that massive house. She introduces herself as Li Lingzhen, the granddaughter of the legendary master Lai Shuang, and she announces that she lives here with them now. Using his observation skill, the main character realizes this girl is actually one of the strongest magical weapons on Earth. Our hero feels awkward seeing her in pajamas, but she shamelessly claims this is just how she feels most comfortable. She explains she is a famous best-selling author, and these clothes are the key to her creative process. The strange girl then offers to join them in bed, making the entire situation even more chaotic and confusing. However, Xiaowei totally misinterprets the offer and yells that she cannot do that since they just met. Li Lingzhen clarifies she only wants to form a contract with him, which brings instant relief to the woman. The hero says a contract would help her awaken an even higher rank. Suddenly, she starts fidgeting with her pajamas in a very strange way, catching the hero completely off guard by her totally unexpected and sudden actions. She naturally explains that in her books, magical contracts are always made after intense physical proximity between the two parties. You and I are just as shocked by her behavior as our duo. But the protagonist, Han John, alright, let's dive back in as our hero seals the contract with the girl. Magical chains of energy erupt between them, locking the pact and causing her hidden powers to instantly evolve. The second the ritual is complete, Han John praises the young woman's brand new strength and asks to put it to the test right then and there. Xiaowei seems a little weirded out by the whole situation and excuses herself to the kitchen to grab a quick glass of water. But as she reaches the kitchen, the blue-haired girl hears strange, muffled noises coming from the main room. Panic sets in, and she rushes back to see what's going on. Luckily, it's just her two companions. Xiaowei finds them simply testing out the girl's wild new transformation abilities. The protagonist then reveals his latest discovery, spiritual energy pills that their new member, Li Lingzhen, can actually manufacture using her powers. With the fun over, the group gets serious and starts planning how they'll find the missing red-haired girl. When the new girl asks who they're hunting for, Xiaowei quickly pulls out a photo of the missing redhead. Looking at the picture, Li Lingzhen remembers seeing someone just like her at a famous local nightclub. She suggests they start their search right there. Before they head out, our hero douses everyone in a special spray designed to attract and absolutely infuriate the deadly Zerg monsters. Inside the club, while the crowd is partying, Han John asks the bartender if a girl named Ba Shuang has been around. The guy gives him a suspicious look before shouting to the entire room that Han John is paying for every single drink at the party. As the crowd cheers for the free booze, our hero stands there completely confused, asking what the hell is going on. The bartender explains that someone ran up a massive tab and claimed the man looking for her would cover it. He adds that the girl left a locked chest for whoever came asking, and hands the mysterious object over to the young man. Once they pop it open, pay attention, this note says the Zerg reproductive cycle has begun and 7 parasites are loose. This is as bad as it gets. Suddenly, the young man stops reading and tells his friends he's got to make an emergency run to the bathroom. Once inside, he accidentally bumps into a man wearing glasses who was just standing there acting incredibly suspicious. Out of nowhere, the guy snaps, lunging at our protagonist with a punch meant to do some serious permanent damage. But when the punch lands, our hero feels absolutely nothing and just shoves the guy back with overwhelming force. As the man hits the floor, a Zerg Eclipse monster bursts from his neck and lunges at Han Yan with razor-sharp claws. Without breaking a sweat, Hanjan obliterates the creature mid-air, ending the threat with one single, perfectly timed strike. A moment later, the rest of the team bursts into the bathroom, wanting to know what caused all that noise. The protagonist quickly explains that he was just attacked by a human host being controlled by a Zerg Eclipse monster. Xiaomei realizes they've already found one of the 7 targets, and now they need to hunt down the other 6. They head back out to search for more clues, but a man armed with a machete suddenly ambushes our hero. Hanjan dodges the blade at the last second and lands a brutal kick, slamming the man onto the cold floor. Instantly, the mind-controlling parasite leaps from the guy's head, but Hanyan swats it out of the air. The blue-haired woman then identifies the man as one of Jiahu's top henchmen. Now, I know what you're thinking, this can't be a coincidence. And yeah, Hanjan realizes everyone here is tied to the villain, Jiahu. Cut to Jiahu's office. We see the brute calmly teaching a student until the door is slammed open by the immortal Yin, who's here to demand some real answers. He immediately accuses the big man of being corrupt and using those parasitic insects to mind control the city's awakened students. Old Xiao coldly mentions that Yen's wife is already dead and tells him to shut his mouth instead of making a scene. But Yen begins to radiate a dark, sinister aura, declaring that this is all the brute's fault and he's here for revenge. Xiao tries to deflect, calling the woman's death just a stroke of bad luck, then asks if the immortal is really ready for the backup arriving. Right on cue, a group of thugs surrounds the immortal. The old man smiles, lying that the young man was the one who attacked first. With that, all the bullies lunge at the man from behind, trying to use their numbers to crush him. The immortal finally activates his combat abilities, but before he can move, Hanjan crashes through the entrance, taking out every thug standing by the door. Everyone's in shock, and our hero tells them to run now because this is personal. Trust me, you and I don't want to miss what's next. Alright, you and I are about to see these thugs regret every life choice as they rush our hero. Hanjan isn't just fighting, he's dominant. Punches, elbows, they're dropping like flies in a flash of violence. With the bullies broken on the floor, even the immortal is stunned. Our protagonist's combat growth is honestly off the charts. The captain, Xiao, tries to bolt during the chaos. Bad move. The young man is 10 times faster and catches him instantly. Zero mercy. Hanjan drives a crushing blow straight into the villain's chest, sending the corrupt old man to the dirt. Suddenly, a gross Zerg parasite crawls out of his skull, trying to escape the mess. He sees it coming. One punch, and the bug is splat. But Hanjan knows this was just a scout, not the mother. But then, at that exact moment, the city guards burst in. They see Captain Xiao's body and lose it. They're absolutely furious and ready for blood. The scene shifts to the mayor's office. His secretary is just trying to get some boring documents signed. Now pay attention to this reveal. When the mayor turns around, he's totally possessed by the mother Zerg Eclipse monster. We only hear the secretary's scream as the politician's monster body attacks. Then, we're back with our heroes at the crime scene. Hanjan tells the woman in blue she needs to contact their master right now, and when she hesitates, he grabs her hand. His gaze is ice cold as he tells her to go, and he means it. Back at the office, the infected mayor orders a citywide manhunt. He wants our main character's entire squad, dead or alive. He wears this sinister grin, gloating about how easily our heroes fell right into his trap. He's loving every second. We return to Hanjan. He's walking out alone, planning to draw all the heat and protect his friends from being arrested. But the second he steps outside, a mysterious old man on a hoverboard intercepts him. Using some insane gravity pressure power, he forces our hero to surrender immediately. The story then pivots to the master, Li Shuang. He's staring into the shadows, telling a hidden figure it's time to stop playing hide and seek. The stranger steps out, mocking the master for being so relaxed while his top student's life is in serious danger. The professor's aura explodes. It's terrifying. He asks if they really want to push things to this extreme level. The hooded man isn't scared. He reveals the old guy on the hoverboard is just a clone of the real villain. Master Liang laughs it off. As the figure vanishes, the master whispers that he still has plenty of tricks left to play. Then, his colleague Lin Jingguan asks if he should save Hanzan. Trust me, the master has a plan. Next thing we see, our hero is tied up. The hoverboard elder hovers over him, demanding a full confession for his supposed crimes, but Hanzan refuses. He gets a brutal punch to the jaw. The villain gives him an ultimatum: join them or die forever. Our hero just glares at him, asking if this organization is the one controlling those brain-sucking Zerg monsters. The old man brags about it. He claims those Zerg are the most powerful weapons in their entire secret arsenal. After hearing that, Hanjan shuts down both offers. He's going to do things his way, even if it means fighting the world. The next morning, he's dragged toward the gallows. The announcer stands by the mayor, declaring that the execution is finally ready. The mayor leans in, asking if the rest of the team was captured yet. When the guard says no, the mayor snaps at him and rudely tells him to get out. He sits there brooding, wondering why the hell the kid is so calm when he's about to die. In the crowd, people recognize him. They know him as the triple S level prodigy from the academy. The hype is real. Suddenly, the mayor takes the stage himself. The crowd is stunned to see the leader appearing in person. He gives a speech about sending a genius to heaven, claiming the boy betrayed everyone by hurting innocent people. It's all lies. He tells everyone Hanzan teamed up with the monsters to destroy the city's peace. The mob buys it. They're screaming for blood now, wanting the young man to pay for crimes he didn't commit. The mayor smirks. He gives the signal. It's time to activate the final execution mechanism and end this. The machine roars to life. That heavy blade starts falling, aiming right for our protagonist's neck. But at the last millisecond, someone hits the stop button. Our hero is alive, and we're just getting started. All right, you and I are dropping right into the chaos, as Shang-Xing, the woman saved in the desert, arrives with her army. The mayor screams in a rage, demanding to know why the merchant guild is meddling in the city's private business. Just then, Hanjan's entire squad reveals themselves in the crowd, weapons drawn and ready to back their friend no matter what. Meanwhile, Master Li Shutong meets a hooded figure in the shadows. When the stranger claims the drama is finally over, the master just gives a confident, knowing smile. The figure vanishes, and a voice on the master's phone reports that the enemy organization's leader is still missing. When Li Tong asks for a lead, the caller mentions a mysterious group known only as Breaking Down. The camera cuts back to our heroes. People in the crowd are buzzing, shocked that anyone would dare to step in and stop the execution. Shang-Xing doesn't hold back, announcing to the entire city that this whole mess was a trap set up by the mayor. She screams it for everyone to hear. Hanjan isn't a villain, he's a true hero. Now watch closely as our hero shows everyone his true power, moving at light speed with weapon in hand, while giant screens show him absolutely decimating monsters for the good of all humanity. Seeing the footage of his strength, the crowd is absolutely stunned. But then, a flying old man arrives with crushing pressure, silencing the entire area with his booming, thunderous voice. The squad freezes, paralyzed by the mysterious man's terrifying aura, wondering what kind of monster they are facing. The old man coldly declares that killing Hanjan is a corporate mission, and nothing will stand in their way. With a wave of his hand, he summons a massive spectral fist from the sky to crush our hero into dust. But before the blow lands, something slams into the giant hand, shattering it into a million pieces. The old man is speechless, but before he can react, a mysterious shot hits him dead center, knocking the powerful elder straight to the ground. As the crowd panics, Shang-Xing spots a hooded figure on a nearby rooftop who quickly vanishes into the night. Suddenly, the mayor lunges at Hanjan with a crimson aura. Hanjan realizes this chaos was all part of his master's plan and prepares to face him in battle. A devastating punch whistles toward our hero, but he slips past the strike with split-second timing. The mayor's eyes widen in shock at the kid's insane speed, but he's already too late to react. Hanjan is already right behind him, ready to strike. He delivers a brutal face-shattering punch that sends the mayor crashing down, creating a massive explosion that rocks the entire plaza. The corrupt politician is quickly finished, but then the Mother Eclipse Zerg crawls out of his skull to make a run for it. But our protagonist snatches the disgusting creature out of the air and easily crushes it with his bare hands. You saw that, right? Hanjan just exposed the real enemy hiding in their society, holding up the monster's remains for the entire crowd to witness. As our hero explains, he was protecting them from Zerg infiltrators. Master Li Shutong appears, asking if he enjoyed the experience. The master asks if he finally understands the razor-thin line between life and death. The young man replies that next time, he wants to resolve everything on his own without needing help. Li Tong praises his student, noting that the city's very last hidden insect has finally been found and dealt with. His only regret is that the targets were eliminated before they could squeeze any useful intel out of them. He mentions the secret society that had burrowed into the city's guardians, though concrete information is still hard to find. Suddenly, Immortal Yifan arrives with grim news. They finally located the body of the red-haired girl, Hong Ying Wei. This hits Hanyan hard. The Immortal explains that several bodies were found floating in the sea near the beach. We see a series of coffins drifting hauntingly on the dark waves of the ocean. Inside one, the girl lies lifeless, but then her face begins to warp into something sinister and dark. Her eyes snap open, and a foul creature begins to crawl its way out of her throat. Later, we find our heroes sharing a quiet meal, celebrating the fact that everyone in the squad reached level 3. Hanjan adds that Li Lingxian has also caught up and evolved to level 3, while Xiao Yu managed to learn several brand new and incredibly useful combat skills. Shang-Xing then makes a surprise move, offering to form a formal contract with Hanjan, but he turns her down politely, explaining he only bonds with divine spirits so they can grow and evolve together. Master Li Tong asks what's next for Hanjan now that he's hit his limit training in the safety of the city. The young warrior doesn't hesitate. He wants to keep evolving, no matter what it takes. Hearing this, The master decides to send him straight to the front lines, a place that has been in constant conflict for years. Trust me, you and I are about to see this journey reach a whole new level as he leaves the girls behind for their own specialized training elsewhere. Let's dive in. You and I are watching humanity's last stand against giant serpents. Heavy artillery fires non-stop as massive snakes crush wounded soldiers into the dirt. Xiaoya and Zhang are stressed out, arguing over the heavy losses their team just took. Zhang complains that his squad is tiny now and they desperately need fresh reinforcements. Suddenly, a chopper touches down and our hero, Han Jan, steps out looking battle-ready. Without wasting a second, the protagonist introduces himself to the two stunned soldiers. They think it's suicide he brought 0 spirits to one of the deadliest battlefields on Earth. Neither man wants him, so they start bickering over who has to take the rookie. But here's the kicker. The blonde captain finally caves in, ordering Han Jan to come meet the rest of the squad. The captain also introduces the other recruits, Kaiyang and Shikan. The blonde girl cuts in immediately, whining about getting totally drenched on their last mission. She tries putting on her coat but gets tangled up, asking Han Jan for help. Han Jan helps her out, and the girl gives him a quick, friendly thank you. Then she notices the lack of spirits, wondering if this guy is actually the new recruit. The protagonist formally greets everyone and mentions he didn't come empty-handed. He dumps out a massive haul of valuable loot taken straight from the city vault. The recruits go wild over the gear, but the captain flatly refuses the generous gift. He claims he's a mecha operator and doesn't need any standard defensive equipment. The leader doesn't waste time and orders everyone to prep for the next mission. Once the captain is gone, Han Jan asks if that mecha operator claim was real. A recruit explains that after his partner died, he switched to machines to keep fighting. The conversation dies when the captain returns and starts hurling sacks of potatoes at them. Han Jan asks about the plan, and the captain cryptically says they're cutting the descendants. They're hunting Izaki clan snakes monsters that breed 10,000 times faster than any human. He explains further. Because of that insane birth rate, humanity was losing this territory until just last month. The legend Weeing returned and turned the tide, but several deadly survivors managed to escape. Now, the group's entire focus is finding the hidden nest of those remaining serpents. They head out into a dark, creepy forest to track down those monster hatcheries. Now look closely, you and I are about to see something truly disgusting hanging overhead. Han Jan looks up and spots massive, gross fabric that looks like giant shed skin. This leathery material is draped over everything, choking the life out of the trees. The captain notes that Izaki snakes shed their skin every single time they level up. Suddenly, Han Jan screams a warning. The creature's eggs are buried deep inside that skin. Hundreds of eggs start raining down from the canopy toward the forest floor. From inside his mech, the captain confirms these massive eggs are exactly what they're hunting. But out of nowhere, the shells start cracking open before they even hit the ground. The team freezes in horror, hearing a strange, unnatural sound coming from within the eggs. As more eggs fall, a deafening roar suddenly echoes through the entire forest. The sonic pressure is so intense it actually knocks the captain's heavy armor backward. He tumbles off a massive cliff, and Han Jan lunges forward to save his leader. He grabs the robot's metal arm and literally hurls the massive machine back up. The leader lands safely on the dirt. You and I just witnessed strength that shouldn't even be humanly possible. Alright, you and I are jumping into a story where everyone thinks our hero is already dead after that fall. The pilot was completely crushed by guilt, blaming himself for the tragedy, until a hand suddenly grabbed the cliff edge. It was our hero, casually asking for a bit of help to finish his climb back to the top. The whole team cheered, relieved their friend was safe. But as the young man walked toward them, the leader snapped, clearly irritated that Han Jan would even think about sacrificing his life for anyone else. Our protagonist didn't argue, he simply nodded and said he understood the captain's point. While they were still talking, several snakes rushed toward the group's position at high speed. Han Jan realized these were newborn Izaki clan hatchlings, and the captain immediately ordered everyone to be extremely careful. The recruits were paralyzed with fear as hundreds of baby snakes began crawling out from every single direction. The monsters charged the group head-on, and the leader used his heavy armor to hold the front line. The blonde girl was frozen in place. She was absolutely horrified, crying out that there was no way they could survive this massive swarm and get out alive. Now watch this part carefully. Han Jan finally reveals exactly what that mysterious ring can really do. The snakes immediately stopped, staring at the group in pure confusion while they waited for an opening to strike. Even the captain was baffled, watching the massive swarm just standing there, frozen by the barrier's power. Our hero yelled out, asking what the captain was waiting for to start roasting these things with his flamethrower. The captain snapped back to reality and unleashed the mecha's fire, turning the entire swarm into a wall of ash. Everyone was stunned by the massive firepower, and they all thanked Han Jan for his quick thinking and protection. Once the last of the beasts had been burned away, the captain noted Han Jan wasn't arrogant like other nobles. But then a red alert flashed across his screen. This made Han Jan curious about what just happened, and the captain replied that the other squad's missions to destroy the nests had gone horribly wrong. He admitted that without the young man's help, they would have been wiped out just like the others. The snakes of the Izaki clan were smart. They knew exactly where every human reinforcement was hiding. He then suggested Hanjan use his ring's power as a distraction to pull the snakes away from the rest. Hanjan replied honestly that he wasn't sure if they could kill every snake alone, but he warned that if they didn't run right now, the monsters would definitely finish them off. Out of nowhere, a massive rank 15 nest guardian snake slithered out from the shadows right behind the unsuspecting group. You and I can see why they were terrified. This thing was absolute nightmare tier. Hanjan screamed for everyone to run. The two recruits didn't need to be told twice, sprinting away in pure terror from the mountain-sized beast. In that split second, the captain found his courage and unleashed his entire arsenal just to buy his friends enough time to escape. But the bullets did nothing, and the snake lunged forward, catching the robot armor in its massive, deadly fangs. With one powerful bite, the giant monster crushed the captain's heavy robot like it was a tin can. The captain barely made it out of the wreckage, falling through the air at a terrifying speed. The monster then turned its focus on the two fleeing recruits, who froze in terror and simply stood there while the beast attacked them mercilessly. Luckily, the magic shields Hanjan gave them activated at the last second, saving their lives for just a moment. But the snake wasn't finished, and it spat a stream of lethal, corrosive acid directly at them. The acid melted the shield in seconds, completely disintegrating the two teammates before they could even scream. Hanjan went absolutely ballistic after seeing his friends die, staring at the monster with pure, unadulterated hatred. The creature didn't care, and lunged forward with a violent strike, trying to crush Hanjan instantly. Our hero barely dodged the attack, feeling the wind from the snake's massive body as it missed. Seeing how bad things were, Hanjan summoned his magic sword and conjured a massive hurricane for protection. The snake countered with a venomous dart, catching the young man off guard and knocking him to the dirt. While he was pinned down and vulnerable, the snake opened its massive maw to swallow Hanjan whole. But just before the monster's teeth could sink in, a massive blast from above hit the snake's head, and trust me, you and I just watched it drop dead. Alright, you and I are about to meet a mysterious lady in blue named Gongyang Jin who just crashed the party. She admits Hanjan is totally her type, but she gives him a chilling warning she is definitely not who he thinks she is. She explains she just arrived from the exiled district, a place known worldwide as one of the most dangerous zones on the planet. Hanjan knows the reputation. This city is a lawless wasteland filled with people kicked out of normal society. He checks her status using his special ability and freezes in shock. She is actually a rank 8 Valkyrie. The woman in blue nimbly jumps behind the young man and praises his magic sword, deciding right then that Hanjan will be her support from now on. Naturally, he tries to refuse, but she makes it clear that a level 3 like him has no right to defy her orders. Hanjan explains he's on a vital mission and can't just abandon his post, but she insists, telling him she's perfectly fine with using force to take him. So, our hero makes a radical choice, telling her he would rather die than be forced into anything. The warrior realizes he's serious and asks what it would actually take to convince him to join her. He replies that he'll only go if she helps him finish his current objective first, which is wiping out the Izaki snake nest. Hearing this condition, the powerful Valkyrie agrees without hesitation to lend him her overwhelming strength. He starts pointing out strategic spots on the map where the remaining snakes are hiding to finish the job. The woman isn't worried about monsters, but watch this closely. A strange, dark smoke suddenly begins erupting from her back right now. This shadow transforms into a hideous monster and takes total control of the Valkyrie's body. The spirit inside the sword screams for him to run, but the monster completely dominates her, and she lunges forward to murder the young man. Quick on the draw, Hanjan invokes his magic sword and unleashes a massive purifying power, freeing her from those dark shackles. She snaps back to her senses, looking totally confused about what kind of magic he used to save her. To this, he calmly explains it was just healing magic that removes negative effects, then asks what the hell just happened to her. Gongyang Jin explains she's infected by a level 9 insect capable of controlling her body and forcing her into an uncontrollable rage mode. So, our hero asks for permission to examine the infection site closely, and she lowers her blouse to reveal a large scar on her back. Hanjan touches her back and begins channeling healing magic, which sends her into a state of pure ecstasy. He tells her the power helped alleviate the pain but hasn't fully healed her yet, so he decides to use a much more powerful magic. A massive cauldron of vital energy appears out of thin air and bathes her, healing her deepest wounds. The healing process seems to really please the warrior, and you and I can see she is impressed, as she says he keeps surprising her. He is already 50% done, but to keep this regeneration process going, he informs her he will need to absorb massive, vital energy from the surrounding insects. Ready to solve this once and for all, she changes the subject and declares they will complete the snake extermination mission right now. She grabs his arm and the two of them take flight, heading straight into the action, The scene cuts to a drone flying over the entire forest area, being controlled remotely by Lin Jingguan and his specialized team. He watches the screens and realizes the insect army is fully prepared for a massive war. He tells his soldiers that orders are simple, just wait, and prepare for the absolute worst. Back in the forest, our hero is perched on a high rock, tracking the stealthy movements of the snakes. Hanjian suddenly leaps from the cliff and slams into the monsters, causing a massive explosion on impact. The woman in blue watches everything and finds the boy incredibly courageous for doing such a crazy thing. Inside the military control room, everyone is shocked to see our hero invading the nest through the security cameras, and they're convinced he's just throwing his life away for no reason. We see the protagonist delivering several powerful punches against the beasts, but even he can't kill them through their absurd resistance. The monsters end up surrounding Hanjian from all sides, but at this critical moment, the woman in blue truly springs into action and fires a devastating laser. She drops from the sky, slicing them to pieces. Stick with me for what's next. Alright, you and I are about to see our hero push his limits by unlocking the third gate of his secret martial arts. He throws a massive punch just to test the air, and a shockwave of raw energy obliterates everything in its path. Seeing that, the woman is totally stunned by his overwhelming strength. Meanwhile, in the control room, Lin Jingxuan spots her on the monitors. He recognizes her as Gongyang Jin, a high-level villain who was just recently captured by the authorities. Back at the battlefield, our duo has cleared the entire snake nest. Now, stick with me, because Hanjian starts absorbing their leftover energy to heal the wounded warrior. Next, the young man summons his mystical cauldron once more, telling Gongyang Jin that the final stage of her treatment is about to start. She braces herself as the glowing medicine floods over her. She grits her teeth, visibly struggling as the intense magical reaction surges through every single part of her body. Look at this. A wicked black thorn is still buried deep in her back. She begs the hero to finally rip it out of her once and for all. The cauldron pulls every bit of evil energy out. Trust me, you and I must see what happens next.